Grzywacz. He sent me the actual photos. Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. So first of all, I want to say if you're new to the channel, you see me here, I'm wearing a Harley-Davidson hat and an Indian shirt. The reason for that is today I am going to hats off to Indian motorcycles. So I put a video out yesterday with my impressions of this new Indian Challenger. It hasn't been released yet. And today, Indian put a video out on their YouTube channel announcing this new PowerPlus motor. Just right at the tail end of it, they show that the Indian Challenger, and they give a date of 10/29. So it's coming. And I also want to thank Greg Google Translate. Grzywacz. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name. But anyways, Greg is actually the source of these photos. And I reached out to him today, and he sent me actually the actual photos and some videos. So I'm going to get into that in a moment. And the photos are the same photos I had the other day, but they're higher resolution, and I can actually zoom in further and get actually a little bit more detail on these bikes. So I'm going to share that with you guys. If you're new to the channel, I do have a 2018 Harley-Davidson Heritage 114. I love that bike. I just got done on a 2,400-ish mile road trip. Over 5 days on that motorcycle. I absolutely love it. So I am a Harley guy. So when I reached out to Greg today, I said, hey, where did these photos come from? And he said he would actually give me a little bit of backstory. So he says he came across these on Highway 1 in Central California, and he first came across them stuck in traffic. Based on what I see, it looks like it probably is a press pool, and they're probably under some sort of media embargo. I, however, am not. So getting these photos today and the videos that I'll show you in a moment here just allowed me to further elaborate on my previous video and give a little bit better information. Also, with the press release that came out today, again, there's just more information on this bike, so I'm going to share with you guys what I have. Now, the first thing I want to mention is in the last video, I said that the front fairing I was unsure of, and I meant that when I said it. And then one comment that I got from John's Moto Garage, who's actually a local YouTuber here. Check his channel out. He puts out some really great content. He made a point to say in the one video that, wow, that fairing looks and kind of reminds me of a Star Eluder. So after I read that comment, I started looking at this differently and said, you know, that fairing is actually a genius design where not only is it aimed directly at the Road Glide, but it also includes the Star Eluder, it includes the Gold Wing, and it includes the K1600B. So they kind of, looking at this from another lens, I feel like Indian took this motorcycle and said, let's go right for the cream of the crop, but let's not forget the other markets and kind of design this to be everything built into one. Let's make this a bike targeted at everybody. And I think a lot of people are just getting really focused on the shot at the Road Glide. I think this bike actually does a really good job of intercepting those guys who are currently on the path from Road Glide to Goldwing. So a couple things that I mentioned in my previous video that I want to circle back to is actually the reach of the bars. You get a better look of this now that you can actually zoom into these photos a little further than what I was able to before, because these are a high-res photo, and you can absolutely see the windscreen adjustability, which is awesome. You can actually get in here and see the infotainment system and how that's presenting itself here in the speaker setup. You can actually see quite a bit of this out of these shots. So really, really great shots for being on the move. You can also see that it's clear that they are going to have a chrome option, which is probably going to be like their standard option. And then you're also going to have your Dark Horse version, which is going to be the blacked out version. Even the headlight trim on the blacked out version versus the chrome version. It's pretty clear to see. Now, you can also see that there is some sort of radiator up front, which they have already announced that it is a liquid-cooled bike, so that's pretty wild. I do like the look of it. To guys who say they don't like the look of a radiator on the front of the bike, I see no problem with it. It only helps. I personally, just looking at this right now, I do like the layout of the dash array. I do like where they have the gauges up above the infotainment system. It looks to me like the infotainment system is in a little bit more of the rider's reach than what it is on the Road Glide. And to be totally honest with you, one thing that I don't totally love about the Road Glide is how far of a reach that is to that infotainment system. So right here, you can actually see where the rider almost has it like right up above the tank or close to above the tank. With this, it looks like it's almost like in a really good sweet spot. So it looks pretty good. And the reach on the bars looks pretty comfortable too. So I'm very excited to get on this bike and test it out and see how it feels. So I'm going to get into the headlight now. The LED headlight, I kind of hated on this on my last video. And that was kind of for the reason that I didn't like the styling. And I mentioned that it would be nice to see them do something different. That was until I saw the video that Greg sent me today, which he has some video of these bikes riding down the road. And that's where things change. When you can see these bikes in motion, that's clearly when you start to see these things in a little different light. The one thing I noticed in the one video he sent me is the blinker is running on one of these bikes. And that is an awesome implementation of what I said in my last video, that lightning bolt LED that I wasn't a huge fan of. I didn't account for the fact that they would build that into the turn signal, and I actually really do like that. I think that's pretty cool. So it's amazing how just from my previous video that fairing already has grown on me. And as you can see, these bikes rolling down the road, I think they look pretty good. So what I just noticed as I'm going through this footage, here is one lonely road glide. Is it possible that the press fleet threw in a road glide as a direct comparison with no other bagger in there? Looking at the way this bike is rolling down the road, pretty sick. So what I saw in the press release today, this is pretty impressive stuff, guys. So what they say is this PowerPlus, it is 1,769 cc's, which is 108 cubic inch, liquid-cooled V-twin, and they're saying it delivers 121 horsepower and 178 newton meters of torque, which the 114 for Harley-Davidson, which is the standard motor that you get in your Road Glide and Street Glide now, pulls 90 horsepower and 119 foot-pound of torque. So if the PowerPlus is 32 horsepower more than what Harley is, I mean, that's something. That's pretty serious. Even if they lose 20 horsepower to the rear wheel, which I don't think they're going to, they're still already 12 horse higher than what the 114 is. And I think they're doing that with liquid cooling. I mean, you run a cooler motor and you can pump a little more power out of it. So I think it's due time that Harley-Davidson goes to liquid cooling. And I know that they're coming out with this new motor. There's talks about Harley-Davidson kind of going that way, whether they do or not. A lot of that's kind of unknown at this point, at least to me. So if you guys know anything, drop in the comments down below what you think the future for Harley-Davidson is. I'm telling you, Harley-Davidson, those touring bikes are going to have to change because a lot of guys out there, yeah, they have brand loyalty to Harley-Davidson, but most people, especially nowadays, when it comes down to it, they're voting with their wallet and their brain, not so much brand loyalty anymore. And Harley's pool of brand loyalty, it's just starting to disperse out a little bit. So I just think Harley's they've got to be paying attention to this. And to anybody in the comments down below who's going to say that Indian just copied Harley, here's another shot at, they're just going to copy what Harley did. This isn't really a copy. It's similar, but if they have more features, if they offer more things standard, which I fully expect they're going to, locking bags, power windshield, which Harley doesn't even offer. There's talk about whether the infotainment system is better or not. I do know Harley has CarPlay right now, which Indian, as far as I'm aware of, does not. Don't know if it's going to be part of this bike. They haven't made those announcements yet. TPMS is standard on a Chieftain. It's not standard on Harleys. They do have that RDRS now, which you can pay for and get that. So it's not a copy. It's similar. It's design cues. It's all of that. But so with all that being said, guys, just looking at everything that got released as far as specs go, and again, just looking at the combination between all the other fairings that are out there for all these larger touring bikes that are in the same market of a Road Glide, I think Indian very well might have knocked this one out of the park and is not only going to be taking a lot of sales from Harley-Davidson, but from across the board, all these other larger baggers that are out there. So barring any major problems, now I haven't seen any sort of media reports on this. Obviously, if this was a press pool of journalists that were out there riding this Challenger, they're under an embargo, I'm sure. So again, I had these photos and videos that I received from Greg
Grzywacz
today, and I just wanted to share them with you guys because, again, they're a little bit better quality. They're the actual direct images and the videos, and thought you guys would really enjoy to see that. So again, thank you guys very much for tuning in. I'm pretty excited to see what happens here on the 29th. What I will say is that if I were looking for a new touring bike today, if I knew I wanted the Challenger, I would run and buy the Challenger. If I was looking at a Harley, I might have to wait now and see what the next thing is that's coming from Harley-Davidson, because what they have today, I don't think is what they're going to keep on the shelf to compete with what Indian appears to be rolling out. So this is a good thing for motorcycles. It's a great thing for the industry. So guys, if this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel, and I will see you guys next time.